What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Pro Football Focus Show Thanksgiving edition here on RotoGrinders. I am Brit Devine. We got Daniel Kelley. He is back. His son, he had a little bit of a surgery. Everything went well on that, people. Daniel, we're happy all that worked well. And, Scott filled in for you last week. Scott does a great job. But I got to be honest, dude. I missed you. I'm glad you're back on the show this week.
I'm glad I'm back, too. If for no other reason, it means I'm not staying at a hospital anymore.
The worst.
I'm glad back into it.
Hospitals are the worst to stay in for
I'll tell you what.
more than like 12 hours you can get it, right? You're in there and you know you got to do your thing, but then when you're there for a while, it's just a drain, the whole situation.
Absolutely stir crazy.
Oh yeah, I can absolutely I was in a hospital, I don't know, 3 weeks ago for something, and I absolutely can agree with you on that one. We got a lot of things going on here at RotoGrinders this week. We got a lot of stuff going on for Thanksgiving slate too. So let me tell you about a couple of things. If you're watching this live, right, and you're looking at Grinders live chat and the RotoGrinders page has changed. What's going on here? Well, what you got to do to be able to chat on Grinders live now is you have to use our Discord. It's completely free to chat on Grinders live. We have a premium Discord as well that gives you access to some of our experts and a lot of chat all throughout the day on NBA and NFL. And if you have things like the Blitz, right, there's a Blitz Discord as well. But just to chat with all of us on Grinders Live now, you will have to have Discord. You can link your RotoGrinders account to it. Fairly easily sign-up process. So make sure to go do that if you're watching this live and you're trying to figure out what's going on over there. The other thing I want to mention, if you happen to be watching this at YouTube, either live or throughout the week, right, please click the like button. That really helps us out behind the scenes on the YouTubes to move up the ranks. And if you like everything else here at RotoGrinders, please click the subscribe button, and that will give you a notification every time a show like PFF or one of the other 100 of shows we seem to have here on RotoGrinders goes live, and you get some good content on that. Let's jump into – I got some other things too, by the way. But let's talk a little football. We always lead off kind of looking back a little bit. And while some of this might not – partake to the Thanksgiving slate. Some of you will be playing the main slate, probably most of you, because we're all action junkies, right? Let's talk about what happened in Week 12 and maybe even throughout the past couple of games in this Carolina passing game. I've got brought up here your article. DJ Moore, he is like a true wide receiver one, I think. If you're playing like Dynasty season long, like he's like a back end wide receiver one. He is the target hog in this offense.
He absolutely is. It kind of came out of nowhere because when Kyle Allen first took over the job, it was pretty balanced. Actually, Curtis Samuel was out targeting more in some of the games. But over the last month now, Moore is at 44 targets over the last 4 games compared to only 23 for Curtis Samuel. This is not a 1-1A situation anymore. DJ Moore is a clear-cut wide receiver 1, maybe not top 2 or 3, but he's easily top 10, top 12. And Curtis Samuel's more of a flex play at this point. So we got a big gap forming between these two.
Yeah, the DJ Moore routes really fit. We've said this on the show over the past couple of weeks. They really fit the arm talent of Kyle Allen much better than the Curtis Samuel. I saw there was a Twitter thing, a video of every Curtis Samuel missed, every non-reception, every target he's had that hasn't been a caught. Some of these are just horrible balls. Some of them are uncatchable. It's just he can't throw the ball down the field. So that's why DJ Moore has really emerged as the wide receiver one, in my opinion. Just the route.
Yeah, I think we'll play a lot of. We'll play a lot of what could have been with Cam Newton's arm and Curtis Samuel this year if that could have come together. But
what do you think?
We'll never know.
Cam, I think he's got to be a Panther again next year, right? They can't go into Kyle Allen unless they just luck into some good quarterback. They got to bring him back for that 1-year deal.
I mean, you either bring Cam Newton back or you go into QB purgatory, and sometimes you can get out of purgatory. But man, it's a terrifying thing to go into willingly. I got to bring him back if I'm them.
Yeah, I do too. The other guy you wanted to talk about is Vance McDonald, and I mean, we're going to talk about a horrible tight end position outside of Jared Cook on the Thanksgiving slate. And, I mean, this isn't the Thanksgiving slate, but just tight end, unless your name is Travis Kelce, Hunter Henry, I mean, Mark Andrews, they just don't pass the ball enough, and Lamar Jackson's so efficient. I mean, he just throws 6 passes, and all 6 are touchdowns to random other people not named Mark Andrews. But Vance, I think maybe we got to pump the brakes just a little bit because they got the quarterback change. I'm glad they did because Mason Rudolph, I've been saying for a couple of weeks, just he is not an NFL quarterback. Ever since he got that concussion, he's been absolutely horrible. I don't know if that was the cause or if it just he really wasn't cut out to be an NFL quarterback. But right now, we got to move on from Vance, right?
Yeah, he's got so much name value because everyone thought he was going to be this breakout coming into the year, but he's now He's only missed one game all year. The big knock on him was health, but he's been healthy. He has touchdowns in only 2 games. He hasn't had more than 40 yards in a game all season long. He's the only one of the top 43 tight ends on the season without a game over 40 yards. So there's no ceiling. There's a low floor. We don't know what they're going to get out of the quarterback at this point. Even with all these other injuries in the offense, I just don't know how you can ever toss or dot it out there as anything other than a desperation play. And he's expensive compared to what his actual value is. So even desperation play doesn't make sense.
Yeah, last week, basically 2 tight ends took up about 70 to 80% of the cash lineups. You played Vance McDonald, or I actually on the premium show we have here, I made the move live on air. I went from Vance McDonald to Dallas Goedert once we had all that Philadelphia wide receiver news. Everybody was out. That saved my cash game. I just squeaked by. If I would have played McDonald, no money. I played Goddard. I snuck into the cash line, so that was one of the bigger moves for me of the week right there. So I'm in complete agreement. Before we get into the Thanksgiving slate, a couple of things. If you are playing Thanksgiving and you're on the go, right? Hey, how do I play DFS on Thanksgiving without my family knowing I'm trying to do all of this, right? Well, we're helping you out at RotoGrinders this week. Lineup HQ Express. That's our mobile app. It's free for Thanksgiving. So if you want to jam out on FanDuel, you can actually do this on Lineup HQ Express. You can go right from Lineup HQ Express to FanDuel with your teams and enter those teams right on the app, all basically at once. It's one continuous formation. There's no CSV or anything like that. If you want to use Lineup HQ Express for DraftKings, you've got to save a CSV and you got to upload it to DraftKings and all that. You can do all that through your phone very simply, especially through you save it to your phone, the CSV, or you upload it to the iCloud or something like that, and all works seamlessly. But if you want to sneak into the bathroom for 10 minutes and mash out some lineups, we're letting you do that for free on Thanksgiving on Lineup HQ Express. You can download it from your iOS store, I believe. If you got any questions about it, hit up RotoGrinders support. They will be able to further you in your quest to jam in lineups from the bathroom on Thanksgiving with your family not knowing about it. All right, let's jump into a little bit of Thanksgiving slate here. We're going to go game by game, and we're going to break it down a little bit. I took the away teams. I let Daniel take the home teams, and let's kind of have a discussion on each game, go a little bit in depth, maybe a couple of scenarios that can play out. I've got the sportsbook pulled up on my DK Sportsbook app. We can maybe try to give a couple of leans if people want to do that on bets as well. But the first game we got's what? Chicago, Detroit. I'll let you start with the Detroit side here. I mean, it's pretty grim. I mean, not the first string quarterback, not the second string quarterback. They might even be on a third string quarterback this week.
It's the thing. We have a quarterback whose name I'm not even positive I know how to pronounce. I don't know if it's David Blue.
Just say Blows, dude. That's the joke going around right now.
So it's a big question. If Jeff Driscoll plays, we have one situation. If David Blow plays, we have another one. I have no idea. But Driscoll has been actually decent for fantasy so far. In his 3 starts, he's been the number 8 fantasy quarterback. And the thing is, a lot of it's come rushing. He's number 2 in rushing yards at the position. So what that does is it means you don't have a great stacking option if you use him. He might have a decent floor on his own, even a decent ceiling, but Kenny Golladay has only had 152 yards and 1 touchdown in those 3 games. Marvin Jones, 166 and 2. Danny Amendola, 91 yards, no touchdown. There's not a great stack here. So if you're using Driscoll, assuming he's active, you're kind of using him on his own. You're going to branch out from other guys. Now, if you're using Blow, I hate this. I want to know how to pronounce his name. If you're using him, you're rolling the dice. He's cheap. That's nice. He did not play very well in college. He graded out as our number 75 qualified quarterback last year at 73.0. He was our number 41 graded quarterback in the preseason at 62.4. So you're kind of rolling the dice on that. But at the same time, if you're using him, I do want to stack him with Golladay or Jones because you got to assume this rookie in his first game is going to be targeting the big guys.
Yeah, I'm a little worried on Driscoll if he suits up right. The hamstring, the rushing quarterback. I've liked Driscoll, 37, 51, 93, or 63 rushing yards in his first 3 games. That looks pretty good. That's 151 yards in 3 games. And if you're running around there on a gimpy hamstring, not at 100% against the Bears, I mean, that sounds like you're probably not going to be able to get it done. I'm a little worried even if Driscoll suits up. I've liked Driscoll basically every start, and I think this would be the spot where I would go underweight. I don't expect him to be super highly owned or anything, but if he does start, a little gimpy on the hamstring has me a little worried. Does that – I don't know. I'm just really worried for this Detroit offense, basically no matter who's at quarterback this week.
I can totally see that.
What else do you got for me? Talk about Bo Scarborough. He looked like the guy that was going to get all the carries, 14 and 18. Didn't get the touchdown, had 98 yards, fumbled, has 98 rushing yards, 8.8 DraftKings points. I mean, an absolute zero in the passing game so far. He could catch the ball a little bit in college, hasn't really shown that in the pros. 4,700. If you're playing, here's going to be what's going to be chalk. People are going to jam in Elliott. They're going to jam in Kamara. They're going to jam in Michael Thomas, and anything else goes after that. So Scarborough is a way to sort of jam in everything that you want to play, but give me Tariq Cohen for cheaper. Give me Devontae Freeman. Give me a David Montgomery. I'll find a couple extra bucks to not play Scarborough.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing to use with Scarborough is he's 4,700, and you're not going to get any starting running backs in this slate for that price. But he has not been an elusive guy. He in 32 carries, he has 4 broken tackles. It's a 44.1 elusive rating. It's not bad by any means, but it's nothing you're going to hang your hat on. He's been like for what we were expecting from 2 weeks ago, where he was on a practice squad and hadn't seen any action. He's been great for an actual guy you're relying on in fantasy. He's just a guy. So we're going into the week. If you're using him, it's entirely to save money. And I agree with you. I think there's got to be better places to save.
Yeah, the passing game, I mean, I'm a little concerned. Galladay or Marvin, they can always catch a touchdown. I'm just a little worried this entire offense might stall out if Driscoll can't be mobile or if the backup comes in and he's not able to be successful. Do you have a lean on any receiver? I mean, Galladay's getting the targets, but a lot of them are uncatchable. It's just a really grim situation, I think, in the passing.
I mean, if you're using somebody, I think it's got to be Galladay, just, hoping the talent wins out. I don't know how you can trust Amendola. I don't know how you can trust Hawkinson. It's Galladay and maybe Jones is a slight pivot, and that's pretty much it.
What about tight end? Hawkinson is just, I mean, he had the week 1 in my season long. I blew all my fab budget. Now I can't spend up on any of the running backs that I actually want, right? Because I thought Hawkinson, I liked him coming out of college, and I thought he was going to have a good season with Matt Stafford. The problem was Stafford was just throwing deep all the time because he has Marvin Jones and he has Kenny Galladay, and he wasn't using Hawkinson too much. And now that the quarterback situation's deteriorated so much, I mean, I don't even know if there's hope for him to even have more than like 2 catches in a game right now.
Yeah. We've seen him have that one good game where he had that monster outing against Arizona, who lets everybody do this. So it might be that it was more the opponent than Hawkinson himself. Since that week 1 game, he's averaged less than 1 yard per route run. It's 0.97. That's 38 out of 45 tight ends. So he's done nothing. He's averaging 21.8 yards per game. He might I will guarantee he has another 12, 15 fantasy point day before the end of the season, just falls into a touchdown at 40 yards, something like that. But you can't trust it. If you're using him, it's entirely a lottery ticket, roll the dice, and it's the odds are set against you. You're drawn to an inside straight.
Yeah, I mean, we are in dire straits if you're not playing Jared Cook at tight end this week, and I still don't even know if I can actually click TJ Hawkinson in some tournament lineups this week. He's
absolutely true.
Very far off my radar. I want to talk about the Bears, and I think the Bears are a little less grim. They're favored in this game by about a field goal. I got a 3.5 point spread on my DK Sportsbook app. And this is like, we've seen a little bit of resurgence from Mitchell Trubisky. Now it's not amazing. He's not playing great. He's thrown 3 picks in his past 2 games, but he ran a season high 7 rushing attempts last game. Maybe he's feeling healthy. He got his first rushing touchdown of the season. This was a staple of Mitchell Trubisky last year, and it finally surfaced for basically the first time all year. I think, with Tariq Cohen, with Allen Robinson, with Anthony Miller, we're going to see if Gabriel suits up. Probably not. I think there's just enough for him to get him done. I think there's a little bit of rushing upside. This Detroit defense, I mean, they got lit up by the Cowboys. Maybe they held Washington in check a little bit. I mean, are you really going to, any team that holds Washington in check, is that something you're going to praise them for? I don't think so. I think that was more the Washington offense is just so completely inept. Anyway, what I'm saying, just a couple games ago, Mitchell Trubisky, 3 touchdowns against the Lions. Why can't he do it again?
He can in a small slate. We can absolutely be interested in it. I do worry. Yeah, he's cheap. The Lions haven't allowed a rushing touchdown to a quarterback all year. It's a small thing. They haven't faced a lot of running quarterbacks, but it is worth noting. I think Trubisky's biggest selling point is his price, and I can see myself tossing him into a few lineups this week. But you're obviously never going to do it with any kind of excitement.
I don't know. I like Trubisky. I think we've got a lot of ownerships going to Prescott, Allen, and Breeze and Matt Ryan, right, and rightfully so. And I think Trubisky, he's lower priced. He gets you a little bit of a different build, and I think there's ways he can get you 3 total touchdowns in this game, and very easy to stack with too. Because right with Gabriel out, I pulled this stack from Eric here at RotoGrinders. In 2 games, he posted this on Twitter. Without Gabriel this year, Javon Wims has played nearly every snap. He had 1 0 burger and 1 4 for 56. And then Tariq Cohen in those 2 games, 12 total targets. I don't know. The running back position, Cohen, Montgomery. You want the PPR upside in Cohen. You want Montgomery, who's not really amazing. Some of the advanced statistics on Montgomery aren't too great. Yards after contact per attempt at PFF. There's 57 qualified. He's 54th, right? So all that college stuff where he's elusive and breaking tackles, he's just not able to break, get any extra yards after he gets contacted, is basically what I'm reading from that. Which side would you rather have here? We just talked about Bo Scarborough. I'd rather take a shot on Monty or Tariq Cohen for sure.
Montgomery burned us 2 weeks ago in this exact same situation. Everyone said, "Oh, this is going to be the breakout game." After he had that minor hot stretch, and he came in and he had 60 yards and nothing else, and it was very boring. And I'm still on him. The Lions have been so bad against running backs this year that this is going to be a fool me twice, shame on me situation. But I'm going to have a taste of him this week.
Yeah, I like Monte, and don't sleep on Tariq Cohen, especially if Gabriel's out. The PPR upside, 6-7 targets, that's like 40 yards. He gets a couple of rushes. He has the ability to break plays or special teams touchdown possibility with him. So I like Cohen, low-owned tournament. It's hard to find low-owned good plays on a 3-game slate, and I think he certainly fits that bill. A-Rob, right, if I can get A-Rob on my team, I probably want A-Rob on my team. The problem is everybody in the world is going to be playing for Michael Thomas, and rightfully so. But if you don't play Thomas, we're waiting on Julio Jones. If Jones is out, you're probably going to want to play Ridley. But Allen Robinson, he's the clear alpha in this offense. 10 targets last week, 131 yards, a touchdown, 28 DraftKings points against the Giants. I know Slay can shadow. The first meeting he didn't really shadow. He had a decent game. I don't know. I think Robinson is well worth his price tag and a way to get different. If you don't, I'm going to play Michael Thomas in a lot of my teams, but on the teams I don't have Michael Thomas, I'm definitely going to have Ridley or Allen Robinson.
Yeah. Robinson's a big risk reward play because when we saw it last year, Slay missed one game they played against the Lions, and Robinson had a 6-133-2 line. And in the second game, he did play. He did shadow Robinson, and Robinson had 2 catches for 37 yards. And then you saw, like you said, a couple weeks ago, played, didn't shadow. So if he shadows him, we could be in for a tough time. If he doesn't shadow him, hey, good times. But that means that the floor is super low, the ceiling is super high for Robinson this week. And in a tournament, that's absolutely what you want, but you have to go in knowing that's the situation.
All right, guess who the second highest owned wide receiver on the slate is currently at on our RotoGrinders projections? I'm probably giving it away.
I mean, since we're here, I'm going to say Anthony Miller because it's the first we haven't talked about.
Yeah, so he's 3,900 on DraftKings. What does he have? I think it's like 18 or 19 targets over the past 2 games. He's Undertaker gift, right? He's risen from the dead as a dead fantasy asset, and he's produced 20 targets, 6 receptions in each of the past 2 games with 11.4 and 13.7 DraftKings points over the past 2. That gets it done for me at 3,900. He's probably a closer to $5,000 player. I think the injury to Gabriel probably reduced his price. I don't think DraftKings priced him up enough. The cheap, super high-owned wide receiver is almost always a game theory fade play or underweight play, at least on the large slates that I do a lot of analysis for in the Millionaire Maker premium articles and stuff like that. But it is really hard to not click his name just because of the lineup that it gets around you this week.
Yeah, He was rising for a few weeks there. Weeks 5 through 8, he had 50 plus yards in all 3 games. I thought, okay, he's finally going to start doing stuff. And then weeks 9 and 10, he had 1 reception for 7 yards total. I don't know what happened, but week 11 came, he was right back to where he was. I still like to see him score some touchdowns. After having 7 touchdowns last year. He hadn't found the end zone at all this year. But if you're, a guy at that price getting 50, 70 yards is exactly what you want out of the slate.
Yeah, Wims is definitely he's a popular dart throw. He's minimum priced on DraftKings. I haven't looked on FanDuel. Haven't had enough time for that. But Wims, he's going to carry some ownership. One goose egg with Gabriel out, 10 DraftKings fantasy point game. So keep that in mind. I think there's a pretty wide range of outcomes, literally from 0 up to probably, absolutely at the high end, maybe like 18 to 20 DraftKings points if he catches a touchdown and has a reasonable game. So, but he will be popular as a third wide receiver option. The tight end spot, they're down not 1, not 2, but 3 tight ends. I don't know if any teams had any more worse luck at the position than the Bears. The problem is throughout the whole season, no tight end has more than 20 receiving yards for the Bears. I'm not playing any of these like ancillary options. I know the slate's horrible and we're hurting for it, but all hard passes for me.
Yeah, I don't know how you could even consider anybody from the slate unless it's just I'm out of money. I need $2,500 and whatever.
I'd change something else. There's no way I'm playing one of these.
You'd have to. I don't see how you can do it.
All right, real quick before we jump into our next game, I mentioned don't forget that Lineup HQ Express for Thanksgiving. Don't forget to try that out. It's free on mobile for Thursday. We're also on Sunday. The Yahoo free roll we had was so successful. We're going to run another one of those. So it's going to be an MME free roll. We're going to have Yahoo Lineup HQ free so you can make your 150 entries. You can use all the build rules to get really specific on the teams you want. Or if you just want to make a couple of teams in 10 minutes and see what happens, you can kind of do that as well. But make sure to check out Yahoo Lineup HQ. There's going to be a free roll post probably on Friday or Saturday in the forums, and you'll be able to enter that up to 150 times for the low price of free 50. All right, let's jump into the next game. We've got Buffalo and Dallas. I've got you with the Dallas side here. And I've got an underpriced Dak Prescott coming in as the highest owned quarterback on the slate. To me, Dak Prescott's he's right up there with Drew Brees and Matt Ryan in price. However, Drew Brees, 6,800 DraftKings. Matt Ryan, 6,400. Dak Prescott, 5,700. What happened, DraftKings? Does he deserve to be the highest owned quarterback of the slate?
I think we don't have a choice to say he's going to be. I do worry about that matchup against Buffalo. They've only allowed one quarterback all year to top 18 fantasy points, and that was Ryan Fitzpatrick. Only Carson Wentz has topped 14 rushing yards against them. So we know rushing is a part of Dak's game, and Buffalo just hasn't allowed the rush to the quarterback. So I think at that price, Dak's going to be heavily owned, but I might be fading him a little bit. I might go for these other guys.
Yeah, obviously the New England defense sort of shut him down a little bit last week. I think that was a foreseeable occurrence. He's at home, right? It's a short week, but, Buffalo, that defense is just really, really limited quarterbacks all year long. I'm going to do my best. I think I'm going to try to get to Breeze, or even opposite of him, Josh Allen, I think might even be a little safer at 6,200. I know the Dallas defense is also pretty good, but Allen's just if there's 3 touchdowns from Buffalo, Allen's probably run one in and probably has a pass to Cole Beasley or John Brown or something like that. He's just such a large part of the offense. I'll talk about Josh Allen in a second, but I like Dak. That price is there. It's good. The high ownership's going to be there too. The problem is, right, so we like to stack in DFS. Who are we stacking with Dak Prescott? Because Amari Cooper's got a tough matchup. I don't even know if he's 100%. This whole Buffalo defense is pretty hard to pass on. So if we're all playing Dak Prescott, why on earth are we all playing Dak Prescott when all of his receivers have horrible matchups?
Yeah, it's tough to. We've seen Amari Cooper have his struggles this year. They all came when he was shadowed. Darius Slay, Marshawn Lattimore, and Stephon Gilmore held him to an average of 5.5 PPR points per game. And then this week he's going to see Tre'Davious White. Tre'Davious White has not allowed a touchdown in coverage all year. 693 snaps played, most snaps among all cornerbacks without a touchdown allowed in coverage. He's really good. So, Cooper has beaten some shadows this year. We saw him take it to Jair Alexander in week 3, but he has also been very subjective to shadow coverage in some other games. So if he gets shut down, Michael Gallup's the obvious pivot. He had a 9 for 148 against Detroit a couple weeks ago. He had 55 yards against New England last week. He missed the other game that Cooper struggled against the Saints, but whatever. We've seen Gallup succeed when Cooper struggled, But then there's Randall Cobb, number 8 receiver the last 3 weeks, 3.20 yards per run in that time, the most of any receiver who's played all 3 of those weeks. So if I'm going to pair someone with Dak in this game, it's probably going to be Gallup for the field stretching ability, but that's really a guess. It's an educated guess. I think it's the best chance, but it could easily go with one of the other guys.
Yeah, Cobb, 7, 8 targets over the past 4 games, 25, 25, DraftKings points, 12 and 8, right? I think Cobb and Gallup make a little bit more sense to me than playing Amari. Amari's got the biggest home road splits too, but I think it has more to do with the teams he's played, right? He played at New England, at Detroit with Slay, at the Giants, had a decent game. At the Jets, he probably should have been good, but I think that's around when he started being hurt. At New Orleans early in the season, and then his home games, Giants, Miami, Green Bay, Philadelphia, Minnesota, and he goes nuclear in basically all of them. So I don't know. Is it the shadow coverage? Is it the home road splits? I don't know. You mix it all together. I'm throwing my hands up, and I'm going with if I'm playing Dak, I'm playing him with Cobb, and I'm playing him with Michael Gallup, and I'm also probably playing him with some Zeke. Zeke's looking like he's going to be the highest owned running back of the slate. He's 7,400. We don't really like the passing game all that much against Buffalo. We like the run game. This is why we played Phillip Lindsay a little bit last week. And Zeke at home. There's all, what narrative do you want to play? The Thanksgiving eating, feed me narrative? Do you want to play the run funnel narrative? Do you want to play they're all ganging up on Jason Garrett right now and they want to show out, for their coach narrative? There's a whole lot of stuff going on here. But I think Zeke and Kamara should probably be priced the same. But we get a little bit of a discount with Zeke this week.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Buffalo started the year as a pretty decent run defense, but then before they played Denver last week and just shut everything down in the Denver offense, 4 weeks before that, so in 4 weeks they had 7 different running backs put up double-digit fantasy points against them. That's, I don't know if you're good at math, that's almost 2 per week. And that includes Kalen Ballage, that includes Patrick Laird. I mean, it's not been exactly a dominant stretch of guys.
Wait, did you say Patrick Laird?
Patrick Laird had.
Twitter is exploding right now.
Yeah, absolutely. He had 6 receptions, 51 yards, and 7 rushing yards. So this run defense has taken a hit lately. Zeke is going to have some numbers in this game, especially if the passing offense gets shut down like we think it might.
Yeah, Zeke's really interesting. I'm expecting him and Kamara. If you're playing, I like the cash games on the slate. You get a very casual crowd on the Thursday slate, especially when Lineup HQ Express is free, right? Those casuals are going to be jamming in their teams, but people might not play Kamara and Zeke in their cash teams. And guess what? I'm playing Kamara and Zeke on my cash team because I want to make some money on Thanksgiving. So make sure you guys sort of play along on that. All right, let's try to talk about the tight end position because it's just garbage. We've got Jason Witten.
Bad.
We've got Witten who's going to play some snaps, right? Last week was probably, I think, his worst week of the season. 1.5 fantasy points. Only 4 targets. I think that was tied for a season low, which has happened in quite a few games. And then you got Blake Jarwin as well, who I think is the much better choice. They're just playing Jason Witten because he's Jason Witten and there's a lot of history there. But Jarwin actually had 4 targets last week. He's $3,000, and I mean, you get 4 targets out of any of your tight ends this week. I mean, you're just doing victory laps, all over the Thanksgiving spread that you're going to have on the table at this point in time at 4:30. Or you're going to wake up from your tryptophan nap and you're going to see Blake Jarwin or Jason Witten as 6 targets, and you're going to be having a blast on that. So, which one of these would you rather take a shot on? Witten currently looks like he's going to be the second highest owned tight end on the slate.
I can't imagine using Witten. What's the upside there? I mean, you hope he falls into the end zone and gets 20 yards, but Jarwin at least has some stretching ability. He's not. I mean, you're never going to get a big. The only tight end on the slate who could have a big game is Jared Cook. So we're just trying to get a few points out of any of these guys. And Jarwin, he's had multiple receptions each of the last 3 games. He's totaled 132 yards in his last 4 games. He has 2 touchdowns in the last 5. He's interesting. He's not good. He's not going to break anything open for you, but he's at least interesting, and he's a little cheaper than Witten, who is not interesting at all.
Yeah, I'm going to go over to the Bills here, and I want to talk about Josh Allen, who's just like the ultimate consistent quarterback. I'm debating, if you can't get up to Drew Brees, I think Allen is probably my preferred cash game quarterback between the rushing, the passing, he's just involved so much in actual scoring, 4 points or 6 points. I'll take the 6 points rushing. I'll take the 4 points if he throws it in. I like him quite a bit in this game as a very stable option. And the rushing quarterbacks, I mean, Drew Brees has to throw for 303 and have a really good game, right? And Josh Allen could throw for 175 yards and still be the highest scoring quarterback on the slate. So it's a little bit easier, I think, for Allen to have a huge ceiling. The Cowboys D's pretty good. I don't know. They let Driscoll and the Lions go berserk on him. Driscoll was running. I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of a pattern there. I know New England kept, wasn't able to really do too much against them, but I don't know if that New England offense is really too great to begin with. Allen's got one game below 17.5 PPR points this season. I mean, that's a pretty safe quarterback. He gets a dome to throw that deep ball to John Brown. He can hit Cole Beasley, the greatest rapper alive, apparently. Did you hear that, God. Cole Beasley? Did you hear that album today?
I didn't listen to it.
I didn't think it was too bad. I listened to a couple of songs while I was calling sometime today. But you pulled some PFF stuff from the things I can't even get, right? I got the top premium or the top subscription on PFF, right? But you pulled some stuff from the back for the show here. John Brown, he's got the 5th most deep targets in the league with 20 of them, but the Cowboys, 6th best coverage grade on passes targeted 20 yards downfield, an 81 passer rating, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So, I mean, it's strength for strength there. We'll have to see what wins out. I don't know. I guess in the long run, I just think Allen's pretty safe rushing upside, rushing touchdowns. He'll probably throw a touchdown. He gets 2 total touchdowns. He's on his way to a pretty good fantasy game.
Yeah, considering he's $600 cheaper than Brees, $200 cheaper than Ryan, he's probably my favorite quarterback on the slate. He's just cheap enough that I think you can force in some of the big name guys, and he's not dumpster diving like you would be with Trubisky or Blow.
Yeah, Brees. I think it's Brees to me. I think Prescott's definitely the popular choice, but I might nudge Allen just a little bit more. I might have to see if my biases changes after I load up on some, pre-Thanksgiving hors d'oeuvres and eat too many Ritz crackers or something like that. So, and I'm jamming in lineups with Lineup HQ. All right, running back. I think this is probably more of a Singletary game, right? 21 carries to 15 over Gore last week. He's more involved in the passing game. He's out-snapping Gore. But here's the problem with using a Buffalo running back, right? You got to play the who's going to get the goal line carries, and that's been Frank Gore. You got to play the is Josh Allen going to scramble for the touchdown game? Is he going to throw it in? And there's just not a lot of touchdown equity at the running back position. Singletary coming in on DraftKings at 5,800. He is priced above David Montgomery, above Devontae Freeman. So he's sort of like in no man's land, if you ask me. Do you have a strong lean either way on what you'd want to do with that Buffalo run game?
I mean, if I'm using one, it's Singletary because I think he's just taken over the job. He has 15-plus carries in 3 of his last 4, 20-plus in 2 of the 4. But that's the thing. If he is more expensive than those guys you name, and I prefer any one of them. I think Montgomery, Freeman, I think Cohen even has a little higher equity there. So if I'm not going to use Gore, I just don't think there's any upside left there. So I'm probably staying away from this position altogether. But if I am using one, it's Singletary.
John Brown looks to be the premier tournament play of the slate to me. Right, so you've got Allen Robinson and Calvin Ridley right above him in salary. You've got Kenny Galladay, Amari Cooper, and Michael Gallup priced right below him. And if Dak's going to be popular, obviously his targets are also going to draw some ownership in tournaments as well. So you got Brown sitting right in the middle at 6,300, projected, 15 to 20% owned. It's not the most amazing matchup, but Brown's been ultra consistent all year long, scoring touchdowns or, 50 yards or something like that. And I think in just about every single game. Has the ability to hit the deep ball. I know Dallas can kind of restrict that. They've done a good job on it this year. But Brown, to me, looks like the premier. If you're not stacking this game, I think adding John Brown into your tournament teams at low ownership for a 3-game slate looks pretty good. Cole Beasley too, right? I mean, PPR counts. He's 4,700. He's got low ownership. He had 9 targets last week, 4 before, 6 the week before that. It's not pretty, right? If he gets 9 targets again, he's probably going to have 50 to 70 yards. It's all about does he get in the end zone, and it's probably not going to get in the end zone. But if he does, he's definitely going to pay off the $4,700 price tag. I like him with Josh Allen. there's nothing good about the matchup, right? There's nothing on PFF that's showing me, hey, Cole Beasley's going to have an amazing matchup today. But I just think he's going to get 4 to 7 targets. He catches, 75% of those. If he ends up in the end zone, wait, what's that? Revenge? Is there some revenge there too? I mean, if Jarvis Landry can have revenge, Cole Beasley can have revenge as well, right?
You just reminded me of what his quotes after he left the team last year, where he dogged that offense. I forgot all about that. That's my new favorite narrative of the week. I'd forgotten it altogether.
And then a tight end, if you're looking, Dawson Knox looks like he's starting to really outsnap Tyler Kroft, at least like 2 to 1. And you're just looking for a touchdown. He's 2,900. Play Dawson Knox. If he gets 3 targets, hey, great. But the 3 targets out of your tight end this week, you're probably pretty happy about it. All right, let's go to the game of the week, or the game of the day. The problem is we're all going to be asleep for this one, right? Or we're driving home, and this is the tough game for me to watch because I'm going to be on turkey hangover. New Orleans at Atlanta. Let's talk about Atlanta. There's a lot up in the air in this team, right? We've got Julio Jones. Is he going to play? Hasn't practiced for 2 days. Is Marshawn Lattimore going to shadow him? We don't know if he's going to play. I was looking right before the show. They're being real stingy on the information, Daniel. I can't get a lean on this game right now as far as the injuries.
Yeah, maybe it's just because we're doing this Tuesday night and we'll know more tomorrow, but it's total guesswork. And if Julio and Lattimore plays, that's one situation. If they're both out, that's another situation. But I think either one of those, if Julio and Lattimore both play, Julio's kind of a risky play, but whatever. If they're both out, we can ignore it altogether. The question's going to be if one plays and one doesn't. If Julio plays and Lattimore's out, I'm all in. It's Julio Jones. He's got this massive ceiling. Even if he's not 100% healthy, I think it's just a great situation for him. Flip side, if Julio's out and Lattimore plays, you got to worry about Calvin Ridley because Lattimore's been really good in shadow coverage. And if that's the situation, you got to think Lattimore's going to shadow him. So I think guessing on the top 2 Falcons receivers this week is going to be a real crapshoot right now, and we're just hoping to find more information before Thursday rolls around.
Yeah, what else you got for me? What's going on with Matt Ryan? Since he's come back from injury, it hasn't really worked out. I succumbed to the Matt Ryan in cash last week. If you would, right, you told me Matt Ryan has 46 passing attempts against the Buccaneers, and I'm doing cartwheels. I'm just counting my money, and it just didn't work out. He hasn't really looked good since he's come back from injury. He's thrown 2 picks, 3 touchdowns. The yards aren't there. One of those games against New Orleans as well. He should have lit up Tampa Bay. It didn't really work out for him. I know Julio Jones is gone, but what are we doing with him at home in the Dome here?
It's been so weird. He started the season. I mean, he wasn't absolutely great from a total deep numbers perspective, but he had 300-plus yards in all 6 of his first games this season. He had multiple touchdowns in 5 or 6 games, 3+ in 4 or 6 games. It was great, and it all evaporated. He's had under 300 yards 3 of the last 4, under 200 yards 2 of the last 4. It's just I don't know what's happened to him the last few weeks, and I don't know how you use him right now.
Yeah, is it the ankle, right? Is it maybe he was running hot, throwing for 300 yards every game is pretty tough to do, right? Is it a mix of both? I don't really know if Marshawn Lattimore's in there. That Saints defense might even look pretty good. Let's say Lattimore's in and Julio's out. I mean, you could play the Saints defense looks pretty juicy. I think you could play them in here. I'm a little torn on Matt Ryan. Without Julio Jones, I'll be even more torn and probably maybe not even play him too much in tournaments should Julio end up sitting out. Let's go to the running back. It looks like we're getting Devontae Freeman back and, little check downs, right? This is the Alvin Kamara, right? Sort of if you get 7 or 8 dink and dunk targets, I mean, that's 7 or 8 DraftKings points you're starting the game off with. And you got to think Freeman's going to be heavily involved in the passing game. He's going to get his, 10 to 15 rushes pretty much no matter the game script if he's back here. He's 5,100. I mean, I think it looks pretty good. He looks like he's also the 3rd highest owned running back behind Kamara and Elliott, so it seems like the masses are going to be on him this week as well.
You got to worry about the matchup a little bit. The Saints have allowed the 7th fewest points per game to running backs, and Freeman hasn't really been himself this year. He's only topped 40 rushing yards in a game twice. He has a 55.7 overall PFF grade. That's the worst of his career other than his little 2-game sample last year. So there's things to worry about. Now, Kadri Allison and Brian Hill never really did develop in Freeman's absence, so no matter what, he's going to have the role to himself, and that alone is enough to give him a little taste in this 3-game slate, but I'm not sure how much upside there is.
Yeah, I think at 5,100, it's tough. You got Montgomery right above him. You got Cohen right below him.
I'd rather Cohen.
I do like Cohen. I mentioned that. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm going to have to dig into it. And the problem is, like, imagine tomorrow the news comes out. Julio's a game time decision, and there's no news breaks on Thursday morning, and Adam Schefter is too busy stuffing his stovetop down his gullet that he can't send out a tweet overnight or something like that, right? So
that has never once happened to Adam Schefter.
Never once, but hey, it could happen. But like, I don't know. I think we might not have the full injury news, right? On the short slate for an 8:00 game at noon when we're trying to finalize our lineups. This is just a lot in the air. So this is something, if you're listening to this on Wednesday or Thursday morning, hey, just pay attention to this because the injury situation for the wide receivers is going to be there.
Yeah. I think if you're going to use Julio, you have to leave yourself open to some kind of late swap and leave a Ted Ginn or Russell Gage or someone out there that you can switch to.
Leave exactly 1,800 in your lineup. Why? Because then you can just switch to Michael Thomas and your problem solved. That's what I would.
That'll work.
That's what I would do for sure. But anyway, right? So play through the real scenarios. If Julio's in, I think even against Lattimore, I know Scott over at PFF, he did a study last year where Julio Jones actually, when he's shadowed by a good cornerback, he actually even outperforms what he's supposed to do even more, which is sort of the frustration of Julio Jones when you think he's like the most matchup-proof, in theory, cornerback I think Scott has ever found at PFF, if I'm remembering the article correctly. So even if Lattimore's out there, I'm not too worried about it. The shoulder injury, that's the more worrisome part. You got Calvin Ridley. Well, if Julio plays, right, maybe he doesn't get all the targets. And if Julio's out, maybe he plays against Lattimore. You've got Russell Gage brought me to the promised land in cash last week. 10 targets. A lot of that was the byproduct of Julio not being in the second half. But he can kind of tear it up in the slot a little bit. That's what you want to do against New Orleans as well. What do you want to do here at wide receiver?
Gage intrigues me. I've been talking Gage up for a few weeks now ever since Sanu left. I'll probably have a fair helping of Gage this week. He's averaged 10 PPR points since Sanu left. He's playing almost 50 snaps a game. I think he's an interesting low-owned play.
Yeah, I like him.
Play.
I think New Orleans probably boat races Atlanta. So I think that passing game is going to be pretty good. And if Matt Ryan's not 100%, the dink and dunk game, maybe that's a little more prevalent. So, yeah, I can get on board with Gage. And then at tight end, can we go back to Jaden Graham? I know he's had 4 targets over the past 2 weeks. He's 3,100. I mean, whatever. If you get a couple Jaden Graham lineups, I guess so. But I mean,
yeah, you're not
everywhere at tight end.
Yeah, you're not excited about it. And I honestly,
Jaden Graham or Dawson Knox.
Probably Dawson Knox and probably Blake Jarwin if we're down in that price range. But right. He's got a little bit of intrigue.
All right, I'm going to talk about the Saints here because, hey, they're the fun team to talk about, and I wanted to give myself something fun to talk about here to close out the show. So Breeze, right? He's on the road. But his dome splits are really good. 391 and 3 TDs last year in Atlanta, 271 and 2 the year before that. You mix it all up. I mean, I was actually trying to get it all. Pro Football Reference wasn't working right before the show. So I couldn't get it all. I went back and looked at them. And what I'm really saying is as long as Breeze is in a dome, that's what really matters. Him not being outdoors is kind of the thing you don't want to look at when he's on the road. I'm hoping the dud against Atlanta the last time out for Breeze maybe keeps 1 or 2 extra % of people from clicking on him in lineups this week, because I think if I'm making my tournament teams, of course, Breeze is going to be central to that for a couple of reasons, because on this entire slate, I know I could just click Breeze to Alvin Kamara to Michael Thomas and just randomly fill in the rest of my 150 lineups with other random plays, because that's where all the production's going in this offense. It's so concentrated, and you've got 2 elite talents. Those are the guys that are probably going to score. They're both going to get 8 to 12 targets, and it's really easy to stack with Breeze. I like him. He's my favorite quarterback. I'd give him the highest projection. I do like Josh Allen. I mentioned that for some upside. But there's no doubt Breeze looks to be the highest scoring quarterback of the week.
Yeah, it's huge upside. I just don't see any way Atlanta can shut him down again. We saw them have those 2 straight good games, but that evaporated last week against Tampa Bay. So I think that was just a 2-week mirage.
Yeah, you go look at the grades across the board, right? They were pretty good for those 2 weeks. Back fell on their face last week for the Atlanta defense too. So I definitely like Breeze. Kamara, he disappointed us and had 19 DraftKings points last week. I don't know how 19 DraftKings points is a disappointment, but it was. He's got 29 targets in the past 3 weeks. He's been targeted 68 times, and he has 60 receptions. So, like, when the target comes, it's basically a reception already, and then it's, whatever extra yards that he gets on top of it. He's ultra efficient. He dudded versus Atlanta last time out, too, so I'm hoping maybe that keeps a couple people off of him. Probably not. That was his first game coming back from injury. He's hovering right around 70% of the snaps the past couple of weeks. So definitely play Kamara. I would play Kamara or Zeke. If you could only pick one, and Zeke is, let me do some math, $700 less on DraftKings. Which one would you prefer?
I'd probably go Zeke. The Murray horning in on Kamara's workload a little bit has got me a little worried. I don't think you're going wrong with either one, but I think the savings and the playing time has me leaning just slightly to Zeke.
I think I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to take I'm going to lose the 30% of snaps, but I'm going to double you up in targets on that. How does that sound?
That's totally fair.
I'm gonna go that route. I'm gonna take Kamara if I gotta pick one. Definitely paying Michael Thomas. If you've played Michael Thomas every week, you've probably made a lot of money because he is the most ultra efficient, consistent wide receiver we've seen in a long time. He's probably going to set the NFL record for receptions in a season. 6 of his last 7 games. Now, are you looking at the sheet right now, Daniel?
I do not have it in front of me, no.
All right, so if I told you 6 of the last 7 games, Michael Thomas has eclipsed X DraftKings fantasy points. What is X?
17.
25.
Good God.
So it's and like a couple of those are like 40s too. So like he's so efficient, monster games. He's going to get 9 to 12 targets almost every single game. He's so good. Pay for him this week. You can play Kamara, Zeke, and Michael Thomas. I think if you're playing cash games, that should probably be the start of your build, and then just sort of fill in some of the ancillary pieces around them. The other 2 guys, Traquan Smith, Ted Ginn. I mean, Smith caught the touchdown, right? That was a little bit of a trickery play, heavy play action. He's just wide open. Defensive breakdown. Ted Ginn, if he catches the deep ball, right, the one deep throw or doesn't get pass interference, he's probably having a good game. If he doesn't catch the one deep target, he's probably having a bad game. These are just dart throw wide receivers to me, not guys I'm really focusing on. Do you have anything else on Ginn or Traquan Smith? The offense to me is it's just so heavily concentrated. Well, we can mix in Jared Cook here in a second, but everyone's going to be playing Jared Cook.
Yeah, it's top heavy in this offense. You can use these guys if you want to pivot, and it's a wild card. But I don't think anybody can, with any kind of confidence, say Smith over Ginn or the other way around, and actually be right. You may guess right, but you're just guessing.
So let's go to Cook. He's definitely the chalk tight end. Without question, he's the only guy getting targets over the past 3 games. He's got 20 targets. Over the last 4 games, he's got 3 touchdowns. He's playing well with Breeze right now. 3 straight double-digit fantasy point games. And I'm telling you, you get like 6 DraftKings points from your tight end this week. You're probably feeling pretty good, and Cook is clearly the guy we can surpass it. If I told you Cook in tournaments is going to be in 45% of lineups, is he? I don't know. I think that's still worth it because he's like the only guy I can actually project to get real life targets in an NFL game.
I think if he's in 45%, I'm jamming him in everywhere. I think 45 might be conservative. I think 65, 70 might be what he's at.
We have 40. That's before the manual adjustments. I think it ticks up a little bit higher. But yeah, Cook's the chalk tight end. Play him. Usually, in theory, right in the big slates, you want to fade the chalk tight end. I don't know. On the 3 the Thanksgiving slates, it's just so bad. I don't know if I'd go on fading it too much.
This slate's miserable. I don't for tight ends. I don't know how you can do. I mean, you're going to have some lineups without Cook, but you're not going to know who you're picking. It's just going to be cross your fingers, put in a guy you can afford, and hope it works out.
All right. Somehow, Daniel, I think we've gone longer on a 3-game Thanksgiving slate than we have on our normal full slates where we go position by position. But we wanted to give you a real thorough breakdown using some of the stuff at PFF and a lot of the other kind of fun things we have going on here at RotoGrinders. Don't forget Lineup HQ Express free for Thanksgiving, Yahoo free roll on Sunday. If you're watching on YouTube, click the like button, subscribe if you like this show or any of the other shows. And guys, have yourself a happy Thanksgiving. If you're going out Wednesday night, hanging out with all your friends and relatives from high school, don't drink and drive. Be safe out there, everybody, and make sure you get home and are able to play the Thanksgiving slate on football. Daniel, it's been fun. I'm glad everything went good with your son's surgery, and I'll see you back here next week. Thanks to all you guys for watching. He's Daniel, I'm Brit, and we out, y'all.